Kate Mila-Falcha. Welcome to Psychics and Psychos. This is Helen, Irish Granny Helen, and my partner in crime,
Denise Siegel. Yes.
So Denise, I think it should be your responsibility to explain our long absence.
Okay, so I broke my foot and I broke my ankle on my left side. And then I really badly sprained my right ankle. So I could not walk for I had to be in a wheelchair for like 3 weeks. And getting around my house in a wheelchair. I couldn't take a shower. I had to like use a cane to, get off it was bad. And I could barely walk. For the first couple of weeks, I could not do anything. So my foot is still broken. I'm still healing. And then I got a cold. I got a really bad cold. Everyone in my family got this horrible cold that will not go away. You can tell my voice is kind of husky. And I'm still dealing with that. So, so that's the long absence. It's just, I haven't been doing a lot of videos because of this, because not like you really want to get made up when you're like, oh, And
so it's been like 2 months, right?
I think it's been about it's been 6-7 weeks, maybe. Yeah, 6 weeks.
That would be pretty close.
Almost 2 months. Yeah, it's probably been about 2 months. Yeah, we were gonna do it right around the time I broke my foot. So,
hey, fortunately, I was just telling Denise, I'm so grateful to myself because when I did these cards, not only did I keep them ready to lay out again, because I have to do them ahead of time or we'd be sitting here all day, and I wrote everything out, and I'm so grateful. So apologies ahead of time if this seems a little rote, pardon the pun, but not spontaneous, but it
would be spontaneous for me because I did not look at this. I have all their info, and I figured I'm just gonna go for it and tell everybody what I see.
It's my curse in life to deal with people who do not do their homework. What is this? This is just. Meanwhile, I'm busy polishing apples.
I know. Well,
over-prepared.
What can I say?
I know. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do a little look and get some insight into what makes these people tick. And our first subject is Lori Vallow, and I hope everybody has had the opportunity to go and watch the Dateline interview with Keith Morrison.
I haven't watched that yet.
Okay. Oh God. I'm a big Dateline fan, so they can do no wrong in my opinion. But Keith Morrison is special. and he's very dry. He's very, very witty and very, very dry. And he goes to the prison to interview Lori Vallow in all her curled ringlet and Jolly Rancher lipstick glory. Wow. She is something else. And he really struggled with this interview because she's Lori Vallow. There's just no rhyme or reason. But her psychopathology was on full display. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, this would be the video to watch.
What's the name of the Dateline episode?
Oh, you know what? I mentioned it in our last video, and I have it in my notes, and I'll have to look it up for you. I think it's called Lori Vallow, the jailhouse interview.
Oh, okay.
Or the prison interview. Yeah.
I'll look for that. Yeah.
Okay. So Lori Vallow, what do I get here in the way of tarot cards for
you? Want to do that first, or do you want me to just tell you the astrology? Because I'm winging it, so maybe it'd be better.
Okay, go ahead, wing it.
Do it, reverse it, because then I'm coming in cold. Not entirely. I mean, I do know who she is, and I know her story. We talked about it it was a while ago. But okay, so Lori has a Sun South Node conjunction in Cancer. It's pretty tight, with Mars squaring it and Pluto squaring it. So this person is very disturbed. She also has she's a control freak. She has to have her way. She's somebody who is prone to violence and probably temper tantrums with that Pluto Mars opposition. And I would say that everything with all these cardinal signs, she's also got Mercury and Venus conjunct in Cancer. She's almost entirely cardinal, meaning, and Uranus and Libra, that she really sort of, she's the boss and everybody else has to kind of do her will. She's kind of the empress or the goddess or the queen bee. She doesn't have a lot of mutable, so she doesn't really go along with other people. It's sort of her way or the highway. She's got the moon in Taurus, so she's stubborn and she kind of digs in, and it squares Jupiter. So she's full of a lot of like a lot of inner tension. She's somebody who, she probably, her family dynamic was probably strange, but she liked it probably. She was probably, it was probably unusual with that moon in the 11th and Jupiter squaring it. She probably thrived in that environment with that moon in Taurus.
Do you remember what we found out about her family dynamic?
Isn't there sexual abuse in there?
Let's just say inappropriate displays of all kinds
affection, right?
Adult behavior.
Yeah. Right. But she probably, she's born with the South Node right on her sun. So she's somebody who comes in with like disturbance. And the South Node in Cancer is karma with the family and feeling like you're not capable of so she's very needy and very, she comes in with this desire to be sort of nurtured and loved and sort of get attention and be insecure about who she is. It comes from past lives, and also the South Node in Cancer with the North Node in Capricorn. This lifetime, she was supposed to sort of learn to sort of stand on her own more, do something with her life, and not really sort of get so enmeshed with her family. But she really didn't do that. She ended up being manipulative in all kinds of family dynamics with her family of origin, with her kids, and she kind of she's extraordinarily manipulative. I mean, and very self-centered with that Mars and Aries square and that Pluto square her sun, very controlling, and that Neptune in conjunction to her sun, trines her Mars. She probably she uses religion to sort of bolster her her Mars energy, her activity, her kind of how she presents herself, but she doesn't really, it's not really part of her, if that makes sense. It's in conjuncting her sun, meaning she doesn't really, it's not interconnected with who she is. So whatever the religious tenets are, she probably doesn't fully adhere to them or understand them even. She probably has this kind of disconnect where it's sort of outside herself. She can't really integrate it into who she is. And her natural tendency would be to be religious rather than spiritual. And that Neptune Ceres conjunction, she probably raised her kids to some degree in some kind of religious, and she was herself raised in some religious traditions, but she does it, but they don't permeate into her. She flips either between this manipulative, self-centered, narcissistic, controlling person, or she puts on this show of this religiosity, and she's a servant, the sixth house, and she's a great mother. But that's just like, it's like a flip of her personality. It's not who she really is. So, but she knows that world probably from her own, the way she was raised. So
I remember she was raised strict Mormon, but her family, they picked and chose,
Right. So she knows how to put it on, and it is part of this trine to Mars and this sextile to Pluto. So she uses it as a form of manipulation, but she herself doesn't permeate into her soul. She doesn't have any connection to it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. She's really, it's not incorporated into who she is as a person at all. It's just a tool, basically, for her gain. She's very materialistic. She's very acquisitional. She's got Jupiter in the 8th, squaring her moon. So and the moon rules all of her planets in Taurus. So she definitely, I think a lot of these crimes were materially motivated, like financially motivated. I mean, she she would commit a crime probably if she wanted to without that, if she just felt like somebody was in her way at a certain point when she broke, because that is something probably in past lives with that South Node Sun conjunction in Cancer. She's the type of person that probably murdered her children in another lifetime, you know, and came in this lifetime to sort of be better than that. She's got a lot of shadow mother stuff with that South Node Cancer. It's like there's a neediness in her to be loved, and if her kids aren't loving her the way that she needs to be loved, then the dark mother comes out. You know what I'm saying? And she is definitely a dark mother. That's the South Node Sun. She probably, you know, with that Pluto Mars as part of the T square, controlling and manipulative always. And I don't know what was said. I mean, I know we talked about how people said she was a great mother. I highly doubt she was ever a great mother.
Oh no, that was the veneer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure she wasn't.
She used her children as props.
That's right. She did. And it's all about her. They were there to give her love and support. They were there to make her feel important. So I guess when she met Chad Daybell and he can make her feel important, she didn't need the kids anymore. You know, she felt loved and supported, and her needs were filled. So she no longer needed her kids, and they just became an obstacle, which is why they ended up dead. But I do think this is a pattern. She's one of those people that probably, I would not be surprised if she did past life regression, which she wouldn't do. But if she did, she probably killed her children in another lifetime as well with that South Node Sun conjunction in Cancer, and repeated it in this lifetime. So I'll
she had
let
a very problematic relationship with her own mother as well.
I'm sure she did. That's part of that conjunction with the South Node Sun. She didn't probably feel loved by her mother. She probably didn't feel like her mother cared about her because her mother could never do enough. You know, it's part of this thing she came in with where she's extraordinarily needy and manipulative and controlling. And if her mother didn't just acquiesce to her every desire and dote on her constantly, which that's not going to happen, that's not humanly possible, she's going to have problems. You know,
well, the
she's
whole
gonna,
family, everybody, cousins even said, everybody knew they tiptoed around Lori, and everybody knew it was easier to give her own way than it was to deal with her tantrums and her issues.
She's so manipulative. She's
Yeah.
so unbelievably manipulative and self-centered. It's mind-boggling. Yeah. So I could see that, and very controlling personality. Yeah. Now she is definitely like, when you look at serial killers, men usually have like conjunctions around the nodes in more active kind of placements. But her South Node Sun in Cancer, I would not be surprised if we started looking at women who kill their children, if they didn't have similar things going on with Lori Vallow, because that's a very disturbed mother pattern, like very dark and disturbed, and really can't really see anybody outside of herself as they're part of her. They're just objects. She's a real narcissist. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's a psychopath. She might have psychopathic tendencies, but certainly an extraordinary, extreme narcissist where everything is just, you know, it's me and everybody else is just a pawn in my game, and she can't feel for other people. She's too needy and controlling to be able to do that.
If you watch her during trial, you watch her in interviews, she always has that duper's delight, smug grin on her face. She loves a camera on her. She loves eyeballs on her. It emanates from her pores. You could turn the sound off and just watch her body language. She just lives for the attention and to be the center of attention.
Yes, that's right. That's what her whole thing is. Yeah, that's it.
Really, really disturbing.
She's a disturbed person. Yeah, very disturbed.
With my psychiatric license is in the other room, but my diagnosis is she's just batshit crazy.
Yeah, she is.
And when you see her cards, like I told Denise, oftentimes I'll put cards down and I have to think about it a little bit, you know. I put these down and I went, oh, of course. Of course. Okay, so shall I?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so at the heart of it, so this is her. And you're going to think, what? The high priestess?
I'm not surprised. She's just,
But crossed by death.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. The high
Yeah.
priestess, because she's sort of the queen, the controlling
Her
character.
cards are a reflection of her path in this life. I didn't ask a question. I just
No, right. You
had
just
her in
did it.
mind, right?
Right.
So I got some interesting stuff. So the death card, it's about blocking that inner wisdom and that inner knowledge. She's not, like you said, she's not really concerned with religiosity. She's not really involved in exploring herself and knowing herself. And in fact, she's full of secrets, but she's
Yes,
also afraid to look beyond the veil. She's
that's
afraid
right.
to really look at
That's right.
inner knowledge. This is a need for change. She is very swayed by externals, appearance, material
Yeah.
goods, status, reputation, money. Those
Sure.
are all what really matter to her.
Yeah.
And she needs what would have been a successful meeting of the purpose of this incarnation would have been to truly become introspective, to reject the influences of the material external world to that level, and to stop keeping secrets. But she's
She's secretive.
unable.
Yeah, she is. Well, that's
Yeah.
all that's answer. Very, very secretive. Yeah, and
There's a,
manipulative.
so this is the need for spiritual growth unmet, basically.
Right. Right.
And in the atmosphere, I got the Page of Swords reversed, which talks about impulsivity, about always talking and never thinking, mentally not clear, very overwhelmed person. So she gives you the illusion of being really on top of it. She's large and in charge. She's not. She's a befuddled mess, really. And then
Right.
at her foundation, the Knight of Pentacles reversed. This is instability at its most obvious. Risky, irresponsible. She has no stability. So everything you would think of as a foundation, she's the opposite, but always driven by the material.
I think that's the insecurity, and the insecurity and the acquisitional nature that she has, where she's so deeply insecure. She knows what she wants and she knows how to get what she wants, but she doesn't know why she wants that, if that makes sense.
Well, she has no insight, no self.
That's right.
Self,
she is not self-aware. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word. So in the recent past, I got the Queen of Wands reversed. So this is about no self-esteem. You hit the nail on the head. Insecurity, disorganization, way too concerned about what other people think about her.
Right, right.
Totally wrapped up in that. And overwhelmed. All the way through this reading, she puts on this veneer of just being really, in charge of everything. And it's actually the opposite. She is in internal turmoil. And that's what this is, the Nine of Swords.
It's a lovely card.
Which is the anxiety. But I think when I did these cards, she had just been sentenced. And I think picking up on that fear of what's coming in the future, this is in the near future.
Right, right.
Just the reality of it, I think, was beginning to hit. Intense inner turmoil. So look at the card that I got for herself, which you just look at this and you think, what? The Hermit. So in this reading, the message is the Hermit in the atmosphere of the Fool. This is somebody who should have taken this lifetime to become introspective, to withdraw from material things. I mean, not join a monastery or anything, but to diminish the importance of the material world in her life and become more self-aware, evaluating, introspective, let go of ego. And instead, she's this impulsive, thoughtless, immature, unformed soul. It's terrible. Hopes and fears, I got the King. I can't pick it up. The King of Pentacles reversed, which, here we go again with the materialism, right? But an enormous fear of losing material goods, of not having, insecure at the foundation. And
Right.
that's one of the things that drives her attachment to the material, her insecurity, her fear of not having enough or being found to not be enough. And she's really unethical, to
say the
the
least.
least. Yeah.
Yeah. Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Personal jinx. I was just thinking the same thing. All right, behave yourself. Outcome. This is interesting. The outcome, I got justice
Well, that's
crossed by the 7 of Cups. She's Looney Tunes. And
well, she got justice. I mean, she does deserve to be in jail.
yes, but her justice, like the balance in her life, because you know that justice card.
Yeah,
is
the 7 of Cups is delusion.
truth and balance, right? And so what you get instead is absolutely out of her mind. Yeah.
Yeah, she's delusional. Yeah.
Completely delusional. Isn't that an interesting set of cards?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
So I kind of did a summary. Let me look through it really quickly and see if there's anything that we didn't talk about. Her childhood damaged her self-esteem. She can't face any.
I think she came in with a damaged sense of self-esteem. I would argue that she came in like that.
Yeah,
it's not even her family. I mean, her family didn't help, but her family is not the real root of her problem. She's already a fucked up soul before she even came into this lifetime.
I would argue that her family relationships, they all came together.
Probably. That South Node Sun conjunction is also like karma with those people that she incarnated with as her family. So they probably all are kind of Looney Tunes and incarnated together to sort of work something out, and didn't happen.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And I kept getting that she had no clarity. She had mental fog. She was confused. I think she's truly, I mean, I know this sounds redundant, but really mentally unwell. I mean,
she is.
Yeah.
She might be what's called a histrionic. Have you ever heard of a histrionic
personality disorder? Sure.
Yeah. I think she might be that. Like a histrionic with like some severe,
malignant narcissism.
Like a malignant
just
narcissism.
A little touch of psychopathy.
Like it's such a psychopathy. But histrionic people, I've met only one. They're kind of rare. They're very delusional, extraordinarily delusional people. And everything is about sort of captivating attention and being kind of phony. They're very, very phony. And it's all about manipulating men. And if they're a woman, they're usually women. And sort of like getting attention by, reflecting back what you think people want to see. And I think she really fits that, but like a really, really deranged histrionic, Can you
think of like a famous person who would fit that without getting sued?
Lori Vallow. There's nobody, I don't think it's a very functional, it's not like narcissism, which a lot of, wealthy and powerful people have narcissistic personality disorder. It's like you almost need that to get ahead.
To grab the power,
yeah. But in the case of histrionics, they're kind of rare, and also I don't know that there's any famous examples of it, really. I mean, maybe you could say the veneer that Marilyn Monroe put on was sort of a histrionic personality type. I don't know that she was.
No, she absolutely wasn't.
Right, but that was maybe the sort of, she kind of the role that she played, like in terms of the culture, there was that kind of thing. But I don't think even that's accurate because they're so overtly phony. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think, well, that's a whole other thing we should talk about, Marilyn Monroe, but I don't think that she was histrionic in her assumed role.
I don't think so either.
No,
but maybe people read her that way because that's the culture of the time, like she's a sex object, you know what I mean? And that all she was that. I think that might have been put on her, but I don't think she herself was histrionic by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. So there really are no famous examples of the histrionic because they're usually they're too dysfunctional. They're really mentally ill. They're very delusional. So if you don't know how things work, if you think everything is going to be like you sleep with someone or you get attention that's their whole thing. So they don't have a lot of skill sets. You know what I'm saying? They're not
Yeah.
very grounded.
Yeah.
They're delusional. Anyway, so yeah.
So the next person that we're going to do is Chad. And you know
Okay.
what? Remember we talked about folie à deux?
Yes.
This is classic. I mean, you don't need a degree in psychiatry to spot this a mile off. These two it's a match made in heaven. You know, I was
Or hell.
thinking about it earlier. Yeah. Thinking about it earlier. And you know who popped into my head? A couple we ought to actually look at Sundays. Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know much
about them.
I don't either. Yeah. I don't know much about them other than that they're, you know, they brought banks together. Okay, so Chad Daybell. Let me just, what is going on here? Oh, okay, here. We'll go into it. Okay, so Chad Daybell, and I could kind of go into some of their. So Chad, he's got a lot of Leo in his chart. The Sun in Leo, Mercury in Leo conjuncted. So he has to be special, and he's got that Moon in Aries, Chiron, and the North Node. So he's wounded as well. He also has this nodal conjunction. So here's a guy who, you know, who's, I would say, you know, probably didn't feel like his mother cared about him too much or loved him much. She might have had some kind of issues herself. I don't know anything about his background, but the family he came from, he probably didn't feel, you know, he probably felt like they expected stuff from him and that he wasn't good enough.
Yeah, he felt put upon and unappreciated.
And underappreciated. That's right. And all that Leo, I mean, he just wants to be everybody to like, he wants everyone to sort of have eyeballs on him. He needs to be special. He wants to be the king of the world. And he's very egocentric, you know. And then he's got all this Virgo, this Pluto, Jupiter, and Venus and Virgo. They're not conjunct. So that's an interesting thing too. And Uranus. The Uranus-Pluto conjunction is there, and conjuncting is Saturn. So he tends to be extreme in his thinking, in his way of being. He's got a Neptune square the Sun, so he could be intuitive or psychic, but he can also be delusional. So it depends on how he uses that aspect. It's in conjuncting is Saturn, so not a good placement in terms of it's not making good aspects. It has meaning he's tending towards delusion rather, and it's exactly squaring his Mercury. So again, he's got very high fantasies. He's fantastical. He thinks his need to be the center of attention, be important, is very much egged on by his imagination and his desire for power and his desire to be important. And, you know, he comes up with all these castles in the air about how wonderful and important and amazing he is because he doesn't feel appreciated. He feels wounded. He feels like no one really listens to him. He feels like, you know, he wants to be the boss, but he can't be. And so this is sort of, he found his way in his imagination and kind of constructed this world for himself where he could be the center of it and be important. And I think that fits, from what I know, his writing. Didn't he write? He's got that Mercury square Neptune. Didn't he write fantasy, kind of like religious stuff or something?
Apocalyptic, yeah. Apocalyptic,
right. Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's delusional. I mean, some people with a square can be psychic, but they have to have other positive aspects to Neptune. So he's just delusional, and very egomaniacal. So I think his motivation is very different than Lori's. He wants to be important. He wants to be the center of attention. He wants everybody to they both want to be the king and queen, right? But Lori is deeply insecure. And this guy is just, he wants everybody to love him and to like think of him as being special. And he's not probably as disturbed in some ways as Lori. Although he's probably more violent. He's got the
I wanted to ask you about that when I talk about the cards. I wanted to ask you about that because his entire history would would lead you to think that he was maybe sort of a serial killer type.
Yeah, no, he's violent probably, and that's a past life thing with the node and Chiron and the moon in Aries. He's probably got a violent streak in past lives where he was violent and a warrior, but not a good one, not a somebody who did bad things under that guise. And but he could probably seem a little bit more, he could blend in a little bit more because he's got more earth in his chart. He's got the Venus in Virgo, Jupiter in Virgo, Pluto, Uranus in Virgo. So he could seem more grounded than Lori. He's not as open, he's not as obviously insecure as she is, if that makes sense. He could carry himself as in a way of like, I'm, he could seem more grounded than her because she doesn't have any of that. She's not grounded.
It's so weird because, and I hate to get personal about it, but he thought about himself as this great catch, like a romantic coup, that he was really something male.
Yes, he thinks he's something. That's right. He's
very.
No, he's ugly, but he's really hideously ugly. No, he's a very unattractive man, but you're right. That's part of the Leo thing. It's like he thinks he's amazing. He has this whole fantasy life built up about how awesome he is and how just people, he's really the center of the universe. And that's when and her insecurity is different. She's needy. And he feels like everybody should be like bowing to him.
He's grandiose.
Yeah, he's grandiose, right? And she's not. She's not grandiose.
Correct.
So that's where they're really different. Now, together, his moon and node fall on her Mars and hit on her Mars. His Mars trines her Mars and her Neptune. So together they had this grand fire trine, which means they activated one another to do the worst things.
To bring out the worst
in each other.
To feed, both provided the fuel for the other's fire.
That's correct. How I look at it. Yeah, that's right. And to act out the stuff into the world, because if they hadn't met each other, it wouldn't have been so easy. This grand trine makes it very easy for both of them to fall into this pattern of he's the greatest thing, he's the king of the world, and she's a goddess, and she's so special. And and he could shower her with how important and wonderful and amazing she is. And she reflects to him how important he is because she looks good and he's the king of the world. But if they hadn't met each other, they would never have acted out either one of these.
Well, there'd be a lot more people alive.
There would be. But this is a very violent, his moon node activates her Mars, Pluto square to her sun. So I would not be surprised if she wasn't the one who set the plans in action and he delivered.
Well, save that because I actually did cards on the two of them together. Mm-hmm. Since this is like a folie à deux, I thought this would be very interesting. We see her as she is, we see him alone, and he is this grandiose. I think there's this streak of sadistic violence in him.
I agree.
And she has the psychopathic depersonalization of people. She sees people as tools.
That's exactly right.
Put that together,
and you've got this
really alarming. Yeah,
that's right, and that's exactly it. Activated that violent streak in her being involved with him, and her violent kind of streak, and activated his shadow violence and desire to, and like you said, that sort of sadistic, violent aspect of his personality that he may have hidden for a long time, or maybe even, been afraid of until he met her. Because of
you mentioned earlier, did you remember, or did that just come out of your mouth that he called her the goddess?
Oh yes, I did remember that he would call her the goddess. Yeah. So that's exactly what she wants. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a pair. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to love this. Look what I got. This is him, the devil.
Oh,
I'm telling you, I put these cards out and I thought, oh my God, people are
Yeah,
not going to believe that
manipulative.
this was random. I know. The devil crossed by the 7 of coins. So 7 of
Oh, money.
pentacles.
Yeah.
So
Rest.
internally, he really did not feel like he had a lot of power. But what this indicated, I looked this up because the combination and it confirmed my gut feeling about him. There was something really evil.
Yeah, he's controlling. That's a controlling card. That's a controller.
That he was attached to negative patterns and
Definitely
toxic, a real toxic person. But he felt trapped in their relationship. He also had this need for external validation and an unhealthy materialism. I mean, they were made for each other, and it's an abusive relationship. Yes. I thought that was interesting. So what would you say? Do you think that behind the scenes they were at each other's throats, or he was controlling her?
I don't think it got that far. I think the abuse that would have eventually come out, eventually they would have had a terrible time because there's all these squares. But I think it was too early on for that to really manifest between the two of them, the control for power, which that devil card is about, because at a certain point, he would become very controlling of her because she would attract too much, unwanted attention.
Jealous.
Jealous that she is his. But since they got caught so early on, I don't think it probably escalated to that intense point. Now, he still may have been doing some jealous things because that's his nature. He's covetous, I think, and so is she. But she probably thought, well, that she liked that because it made her feel like he was really, she's important or something like that, Well,
she wanted to be the center of somebody's lust and attraction.
Yeah, right. Sure. Exactly. Yeah. So, and he's controlling too. But the thing that's interesting to me is they both are, she's a real control freak in her chart. He has some elements of that. He's more aggressively bossy than she is. She's more manipulative.
It's a real yin and yang of control.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really weird. Yeah. But remember what you said about him on his chart, that he was felt unappreciated and overused by his family. That's in his atmosphere. They're just burdened. The world is too much, and he's had too much responsibility from the very beginning, but he had the tendency to take on too much responsibility. And he was getting to the point where he was going to flame out, according to these cards.
I think that's right.
Well, look what's at the foundation, the 3 of Swords.
Oh, yeah. Unhappy. Disappointed.
Bitter, really bitter. And
but the 3 of Swords is also the card that always represents a love triangle. Almost always. 99%. Almost 99% of the time.
They took care of that.
They did.
Interesting, though. I think that all of these cards taken together are the same as her cards, in the sense that the message is this was your opportunity to heal all this karmic stuff, and you didn't do it. So coming into the situation, I got Temperance, which is things were out of balance, and he needed to exert control, and there was no stability, and they got together. This is in the near future, so this would have been a couple of months ago. I think she was the last one to have a trial. Maybe he has another trial coming up. This is crazy that they have so many trials that you can't even keep track.
Right.
They killed so many people. It's horrible. Oh, he got the death sentence, so I think he's done. I think he's done with his trials.
Didn't she get the death sentence too?
No.
Because she's a girl.
Isn't that interesting and gendered? Yeah. But I think what you said about him being violent, I think that's what manifested.
He's the one who really did the murders, and she was just, I think she maybe dictated them. But
Yeah. He did them for his
plan.
goddess. She manipulated him into doing it. But see, she had her brother. We have cards on him too, and he was nuts too. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is him, the
The moon.
lunatic, the moon.
Wow.
Deceptive, manipulative, echoes of the devil card, don't you think?
It's more like the high priestess card in that it's secretive and gossipy.
Well,
yeah.
He heard voices.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did hear voices.
No, I know. That's a
And
Neptune square to his sun in Mercury.
had
He's
visions,
delusional.
and I think lunacy. I mean, I'm taking this card kind of
I got
linguistically, literally.
Can you?
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you hearing voices? Because
No,
I am.
Violet just busted in. Anyway, yeah. I was trying to mute it, but I couldn't. But anyway,
No,
so
don't.
yeah, so yeah, definite lunatic. I mean, in many ways, he's got a different type of delusion than her. His are delusions of grandeur. Hers are delusions of being alluring and beautiful and able to entrap and manipulate and kind of get what she needs out of people,
I think he really had delusions when he was
I
younger.
agree.
He heard voices,
I
and
agree.
he saw visions, and he was obsessed with death. When he was in college, he wrote that newsletter that was called something about
That's
voices
right.
from the grave.
That's right. And you know what? That North Node conjunction to the moon, and I think he had something else in it conjunct it too. He's got the North Node and the moon conjunct.
And he worked at the graveyard.
With Chiron, yeah. That, the North Node is like a malefic Saturn energy, which is death and destruction, and Aries is like violence.
That's
Chiron
what I mean. There was something serial killerish about him. He liked to torture, like pull wings off of insects and stuff when he was old enough to know. I mean, he wasn't 2 years old.
That's right. But then the Lord told him to stop doing that, right? And he's got Mars trining it. So this is past life stuff. That darkness in him comes from other lifetimes of being, like I said, malicious and warring and violent and wounded. And that Neptune square to his Mercury sun is all that delusion and all that kind of. I mean, the other thing about the nodal conjunctions is in Vedic astrology, they represent mental health problems. They represent mental illness. He also has Eris on it on the other side, which makes it even darker. Both of them have these nodal conjunctions to their primary planets, which means even if you don't want to say that whatever, you could say that they're both mentally ill for sure, in different ways. That is, they are carrying over these shadow components that take over their personalities, because these are not just on minor planets. These are their sun and their moon, and his moon, and which also represents the woman that he ended up getting involved with too. The moon, Chiron, nodal, Aries. That's also, he probably really fell for her because she's fucking crazy too, just like him. That woman he was married to before, I bet you was probably the marriage of convenience, Venus and Virgo. She took care of him. She was in service to him. She worked for him, and that worked for the timing. But what he really wanted was someone just as cuckoo and crazy and violent and controlling and power hungry as himself, because that's the shadow stuff in him that he would project. When he met her, it probably lit all that darkness up in him.
That's right.
And, the square there, they just went to town. It was complete.
Well, this is a reflection of their relationship. He was always on the prowl for a new woman, and he became completely obsessed with her. I was obsessed with her.
I'm sure he was.
So the outcome is interesting. I can pick the cards up. I got the World reversed, crossed by the Five of Pentacles reversed.
Oh, that's
so
good.
What does this say? This talks about the opportunities that this life presented, and he completely fouled it up. He missed the opportunities. He neglected himself spiritually. He had unfulfilled potential, too much preoccupation with, for example, her. And just both of them ultimately, their cards show a missed opportunity for spiritual growth.
Yeah, in the Five of Pentacles is called the dark night of the soul, and reversed, it's even worse. So it's like
Terrible. Yeah.
he knows. I mean, he failed big time
Well,
spiritually.
the devil, the Three of Swords, the
And those are
Five of
really negative.
Pentacles, the moon. I mean,
Honestly, between the two cards, he looks more actively evil than she
psycho
does.
killer.
Yeah. And I mean, even in his, but I really don't think if he hadn't met her, I don't think he would have done that stuff. I think she activated that in him.
Well, let's look at that, because I did their cards of the two of them together,
Mhm.
and I it's going to be all new to me because it's been so long since I've even thought about this. So I hate to admit that, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
So,
same.
yeah, here's their cards together. At the heart. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, I thought this was absolutely hilarious. So the two of them together at the heart, this is them together. The King of Coins and the Queen of Coins.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that hilarious? Yeah. Now you know why I'm laughing. I couldn't believe it. And in the atmosphere, the Six of Wands. They just, thought highly
Opportunistic.
of themselves.
And also,
but they just thought they were the heroes of their own world, of their own story, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what did I get for the foundation? Oh, this is interesting. For the two of them together, the foundation, the King of Swords, but I got it upside down.
Reversed.
This is about abuse of power in relationships. It's about manipulation and oppression. Wouldn't that describe them together perfectly?
Yeah, yeah. I think they brought that out in each other for sure.
Yeah, it's a detachment and a lack of compassion and a corruption of ideals. And then in the past, I got the Five of Swords reversed, which is about power games and deep wounding, and the fact that the relationship could get physical, like violent physical. And for the future, I got the Wheel of Fortune reversed, which is about, well, it's about bad luck, and I think you can pretty much agree that they came to an unlucky end. But it's about unforeseen changes, not responding well to changes, and
Right.
that's the underlying thread through both of their charts, both of their cards, and together is that they missed the opportunity to do some really significant growth in this life just by really awful choices.
Yeah, for sure.
And the question that always comes to my mind, Denise, maybe you have some insight into this. When you come into a life with a burden of karma, good and bad, whatever, and you're coming in with supposedly other souls working things out, a purpose to your incarnation, how difficult is it for some people to overcome that burden? Is it sometimes unattainable that you overcome it? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it depends. Like, I think in the case of when you have a nodal conjunction in your natal chart like that, it's kind of a compulsive bleed through that happens in their life. There's these feelings they don't understand that don't always have anything to do with their environment. So often they'll try to find reasons why they feel that way, but it's not really coming from the environment. It's coming from them. And they are responding to this internal kind of past life thing that's sort of bleeding into this lifetime that they need to take account of and kind of work on. Most people work on it. Most people recognize there's something going on with me and I need to kind of address this in myself. Most people do. And that's the purpose of the nodal conjunction, to make you aware that you have unfinished business in a past life so that you tune yourself into that, address it, and let it go. That's the point of it, right?
But sometimes is it such a handicap that you can't overcome it?
Well, that does happen. And so in the case now, Lori has one nodal conjunction to her sun. The problem is she doesn't just have that. She also has a T-square with Pluto and Mars opposing and squaring it, which means that, you know, her personality being so controlling and so childish and needing attention and sort of digging her heels in and needing to control everything and being so overtly needy and manipulative makes it harder for her to look at that, because she probably was unconsciously just acting out of that nodal conjunction without a lot of insight. So for her, that indicates that she's probably had this problem before in other lifetimes, that this makes it harder. So let's say this. Okay, my theory is that people get a nodal conjunction when they have unresolved stuff from another lifetime. They might have one nodal conjunction, they work on it, or maybe, you know, and then they deal with it. But when you start to have a combination or compound of different nodal conjunctions, or you have like this T-square to that nodal conjunction, it makes it harder for you to actually come out of that hole. So imagine that if you think about it as a path, right? You're walking a path. You can either walk towards the light or you can walk towards the chaos and the shadow stuff. So in one lifetime, maybe you make some mistakes, bad things happen. Maybe it's not even your fault. It's just trauma that you come back and you need to resolve and forgive and let go. So you have the nodal conjunction. You do that. Okay, fine. You're back on your path. Everything is fine. And if you do it in your own lifetime, it changes immediately. Like once you address it, everything switches. So you can do it in your lifetime without bringing it into the next easily. And actually, it'll even change in one person's lifetime, that if they address it immediately, everything levels up and changes for them. Here's the problem, though. If you don't address it, if you ignore it or pretend like it's not happening, or you pile on to it, you go, I'm walking this dark path, but you know what? I kind of like it. I'm just going to keep doing this behavior. Then you bring that and whatever extra stuff you piled on. So you keep walking further down that road. So as you walk further down that road of dark shadow kind of behavior, it becomes that much harder to walk back down the path and go to the, you know what I'm saying, to undo all that.
Yeah, you know, there are examples. So if there's some value to a Catholic education here, I'm gonna tear it out right now and tell you about it. There are examples of exactly what you just described. Saint Francis of Assisi and Saint Catherine of Siena, they were pals. They were friends. I don't know if benefits were involved, but they were both wealthy, from wealthy families, and they both turned away. They rejected the material. They rejected the status. They assumed the clothes of the poverty stricken. You know, they went barefoot in long robes. They gave up everything material to serve the poor, serve the vulnerable. And they made this huge switch. Their families were horrified, but they made this huge switch, having lived lives of indulgence and privilege before that. I think Ignatius Loyola was the same way. I think he was a crusader. It's been a very long time since I've read about this, but he was badly wounded. And during his period of healing, when he was completely confined to bed, he had some kind of paradigm shift, some sort of spiritual enlightenment. And, you know, what did he do is went out and formed, you know, the Society of Jesus. And I think Vincent de Paul, the same thing. These people were remembered for the extreme, well, for the good works that they did, but for the extreme departure that they made from inside of a society that was very caste conscious, material conscious, and they just set it all aside. You know, it's like Father Damien, who went to the island of Molokai and cared for the lepers. People were shocked and horrified that anybody would voluntarily do that. So it's possible. I guess my point would be that it's possible to make that kind of a drastic change.
It is possible. It's possible.
I'm
There's
not giving up my.
No, there's always opportunity for people to become enlightened, and there's always opportunity, I think, in someone's lifetime. But if somebody constantly chooses to indulge the shadow stuff and they keep doing that, the more you do that, the harder it is
Well,
to turn
it
it around.
lures you in, right?
Well, I think it's
draws
kind of like this. Imagine you're digging a ditch. You're digging a ditch. You're digging your own, you're digging into this kind of like behavior. At a certain point, you're 20 feet down in
Yeah.
your ditch.
Yeah.
And it's that much harder to get up out of it. And I think that happens even in the bardo or the other, whatever you want to call it, purgatory or the astral plane. When people do a lot of negative things in their lifetime, you can come out of that. You can just all of a sudden be like, I want to, pray to God. But if you don't have that as part of your thing, you don't have any belief in God, you've never even considered that, you're just base and debased and you like to fuck all the time and eat lots of food and and you're just selfish and gross, kind of very material based person, that doesn't even come to your mind to do, and you get stuck. There's stories on the astral plane, like actually Robert Monroe kind of talks about that. Some of those books where people are just in these piles fornicating or stuck in these really like kind of disturbed kind of places,
kind of a Hieronymus Bosch afterlife.
Totally. And they're stuck in these. And then there's stories of people who go to the other side who end up in these weird places where everybody's kind of like dark and it's dark and creepy and they're being touched and just really negative experiences, because in this lifetime they haven't embraced their own, they haven't looked at their shadow and they haven't embraced some kind of higher understanding about the universe and that they're connected to God and all things and love and whatever. So they never think, well, I should just pray, I should pray for salvation, or I should like ask the universe to help me out of the situation, because and so because they've walked so far down that road, they don't even think that. So they can get stuck there for a really long time. Now, if the person does have some part of them that is still has light in it, they will go, this is horrible. I need to pray and think about, whatever their characterization of God, Jesus or the Buddha or Athena, whatever your religious thing would be from any other. It doesn't matter what face of the God you pick, but as long as you pray and ask the Creator for help, you will get, the light will come down and you'll get out of there, because it's your choice. It's always your choice, and you always have that choice no matter how bad you get. But the worse you get, the harder it is to see that you have the light. If that makes you extinguish the light within yourself by doing that behavior.
No, I'm hearing you. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and this all rings very true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like you're being punished. You're punishing yourself because you're choosing.
Yeah.
You're choosing
created this hell of your own making.
That's right, and you've chosen to separate yourself from the light and from Creator and from the One, and that's a horrible punishment. But people who are indulging in that, they don't see it that way, and so for them to get that realization, that becomes harder and harder the more they walk down that path. And as you see people's charts, the serial killer type charts, some of them look like it's their first time to me doing that behavior, looking at their natal charts. Others, it looks like they've done it over and over and over, like Bundy.
They get stuck, yeah.
Bundy has a really clear example, or Richard Ramirez. It's like lifetimes of this really dark behavior. And by the time you get in here, it's like you're part demonic almost, you know what I mean? Whatever the demon, you're so dark that getting out of that is would require a lot of intervention on your part and other people trying to help you, in my opinion. Yeah.
It's very bleak to think about. So
it's not impossible, though. It's not impossible. It's never impossible. But you have to have a real turn of heart, and humble yourself, which these people, that's not something that they think to do.
Well, after this conversation, it's interesting because the card that I got that represents the two of them together is the Seven of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, it sort of reflects exactly what you're talking about. and in the environment of the Page of Cups reverse. So there's this focus on the material and a complete neglect of the empathetic or the true value of the world, and they're just so stuck in it. They're just
Yes.
and feeding each other. And of course, then what do you end up getting but the Three of Cups reverse? This is an unhappy relationship
Yes,
that goes
absolutely.
nowhere good. And then finally ends with negative judgment, crossed by the Nine of Wands.
Wow.
It's this
Bad news.
toxic stew of lunacy meets
Control and violence.
control.
Yeah.
This is what's so sad about it. I couldn't think of the most explicit bad word. There were so many floating around in my head. Is it control? Is it violence? Is it self-absorption? Is it, it just goes on and on and on. There's just so much negativity in this relationship. It's weirdness. Should we look just really quickly at the kids? I only did a couple of cards.
You can do that. Yeah, go ahead and do that, and I'll look at
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can hold this out without messing with them. Okay, so JJ is the little boy who was Charles Vallow's great nephew, I think is what the relationship was. He had been living with the grandparents, and the grandparents were just it was too much for them. He had autism.
Right.
I don't know how that manifested for him. He was in special ed. His sister seemed to really just worship the ground he walked on. She loved him, his older sister. So I'm thinking that maybe it didn't manifest in a lot of acting out, but I did hear people say that he would get wild and uncontrollable sometimes. So
well, that's part of they can get neurologically overwhelmed and kind of get really agitated. That's just kind of normal.
Well, his cards show him, I think, to be a really tragic figure, that his needs did not get met. So the Star reverse. So there's this disconnect and neglect, no real direction, no real hope. I got the Ten of Swords reverse, this coming to a painful ending, and actually the end of his suffering. So I feel like his soul will move on. I mean, this was something that a role he had to play in this incarnation, but that he's being released from what he was trapped in. The King of Pentacles reverse. So there's a lot of unhealthy materialism in his environment, not necessarily him. And also, and I think this is significant, I don't hear this talked about, but this made me wonder, perversion in his environment.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And then the King of Cups, he was actually, a very sensitive, emotional, empathetic individual trapped in this situation, capable of feelings. I just felt like this is a sad story for this little boy.
Yeah.
Neglected, disconnected from any kind of nurturing. His parents used him. They manipulated him. They used him for material goods. I mean, after he was dead, they were still collecting his Social Security.
Yeah.
And he had the potential, given the right nurturing environment, but his death was actually just a release of suffering for him.
Yeah, well, if you look at his natal chart, he has Mercury, the Sun, and the South Node all in Gemini. So he has some kind of trauma from past lives, but it's more related to intellectual stuff. And he's got the node in Sag. So that's probably some kind of trauma that he experienced that affected his ability to process. And there's a lot of fear about. So that's probably the neurological thing that he has to deal with in this lifetime, is like being overwhelmed. This is not necessarily like, again, people can have nodal conjunctions that represent difficulties and things that are pulled into a lifetime that are not necessarily things they did, but things that they dealt with that are unresolved. So that feeling of being dissociated or not being able to process things, feeling like he wasn't smart enough or wasn't able to really understand things might have been some kind of trauma from another lifetime, and it manifested in this lifetime.
Would a good example be, let's say you're a veteran and you have PTSD and it goes unmet?
Yes, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I think this might have been some kind of war related, because he's got the North Node in Sag, that there might have been some kind of severe trauma from a war situation, some kind of, maybe he had a brain scramble or he had some kind of head injury or something because of the Mercury Sun South Node conjunction, and he wasn't able to process what happened to him. And so in this lifetime, he's coming back with like that kind of processing issue. And in this lifetime was to work through and kind of get on top of that and let go of that and learn to be able to, like, find a way through that, and kind of embrace his intellectual differences. But yeah, I mean, he probably was very smart. Ironically, with Mercury in Gemini, he probably was very bright. He knew what was going on. He just couldn't express it. And that's the trauma left over from this other lifetime. So the moon in Cancer, his mother's, Mercury is right on it. He probably thought he was very close to his mom.
Now, are we talking Lori?
Yeah, Lori.
Or are we talking his birth mother?
I'm talking about Lori. He probably really felt, and his birth mother too. He had a good relationship with his birth mother probably, but I would think that she really played that role for him, and he thought she was a good mom. Now her node is right on his Pluto, which means there's some kind of karmic thing here, and the fact that his Pluto is on her North Node is he made her work and made her have a sense of purpose in the world. And maybe she resented that too, because that Pluto squares her Mars and opposes her Sun and her South Node and is on her North Node. He was there to help give her a sense of purpose, to put her on the right path towards doing something for others. So his situation is very karmic. It's like, and her Neptune on his North Node. And if she wasn't going to do that, her Neptune on his North Node, he was going to check out. He came to help her. He came to help the family to change the trajectory and to
that makes it doubly tragic in my opinion.
It does. Yeah, he did this for, it's messed up. And I think that was his out. If she was not able to do her purpose, he was going to be able to get out of that. The Neptune node, she would have, I mean, that kind of, even just that seems like some reason or something would have happened. Even if she hadn't had him murdered, he might have, her neglect, he would have had some kind of tragic ending. He would have died early if she wasn't really taking care of him.
Oh, she wasn't. Neighbors complained that he was outside alone, unsupervised, and not up to his age level, So it was dangerous for him. I mean, you could let a 7 or 8 year old outside to play and not freak out, but he needed supervision. Yeah.
Right. I know. So that was something else probably would have eventually happened. He would have had an accident or something like that.
Get run over. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
So do you have Tylee's?
I do.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? And then
I'll do Tylee's.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tylee, now Tylee was probably a very nice kid, like very sweet. She's got the Sun and Mercury in Libra. She's got a trine to Neptune in Aquarius, very open-minded, and probably somebody in Jupiter opposition saw the best in people, squaring her moon. Now, her mom was not so great to her, but she's got a T-square to the moon in Taurus. So, she saw her mom as a rock, but her mom was probably also kind of, pushing her all the time. She felt like under pressure to do things and to kind of be of service to her mother. Her moon is in the 8th house. Mom's in control. Mom's the boss. So I would bet you this would have put her in the situation where she's kind of the second mom. She's the mom, you know. She plays the second mom role. She's got the Uranus trining her Saturn. She's she's very much an open philanthropic, and you know, she's somebody who's like a humanitarian. She's good natured. She's a good kid. She's got Mars and Virgo. She wants to help. She wants to be of service. Squaring her Pluto. That's how she feels empowered. And she has the South Node and Pluto conjunct in Sag. So she's also got a nodal conjunction. This is not uncommon to see, I hate to say this, with people who are victims of violent crime or who are murdered, that they have nodal conjunctions too. And I think this is, again, some kind of unresolved karma having to do with, again, it could be a war situation. It could be a religious order that she was in with all of her humanitarian stuff. Maybe she was a nun or something like that in a past life who died during the Second World War. You know, maybe she was a Jew that became a nun or something like that. She probably has some kind of strange religious thing because she's got a lot of and spiritual thing with this Jupiter opposition, Neptune.
Well, you remember that these people are all Mormon.
They're Mormon, but she probably died as a result of her religious beliefs in a past life with that Pluto South Node. And in this lifetime, maybe she incarnated into this situation to sort of, you know, deal with those religious issues, you know, that and the power and what happens in that lifetime and letting go of that, and finding a new spiritual path. I don't know if that, you know, I don't have her exact placement in terms of where the node would fall. So that would make a big difference. But certainly her power and finding her power in her spirituality, in her philosophy, in her religion, that's kind of the thing that's left over in her chart. She's got the North Node in Gemini on her, I believe on her brother's stuff there. Let me see. So that means that they've known each other before. There's some kind of past life. Yeah, her North Node is on his South Node, his Sun, Mercury. So, and his Venus is on her Saturn. So she probably felt like she needed to take care of him, that she was his caretaker.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and that they were very, very close and they knew each other from other lifetimes. So they kind of came into this deal together. It looks like Saturn trines Uranus. So maybe he came also to support her, you know, in the situation. And their Mars are conjunct. So that she really, and his Uranus is opposing her Mercury. So they had a very kind of, and trines her Jupiter and Pluto have a grand trine.
Symbiotic.
They're very symbiotic, very, very intensely interconnected, and all these trines and stuff. They really loved each other and probably knew each other in many lifetimes. And maybe they both came to this situation to sort of, you know, I think just, okay, if I was going to put a reason, I would say she was already in the family. And maybe he came into that situation to try to kind of, you know, support her, Tylee, and also to kind of change the Lori,
dynamic
that she would, so that she would become a better parent and a better person. Of course, that didn't happen, but that would be my guess. I mean, I would think that with all these planets that Tylee has in Libra, that her mother would have been very hard on her. Mars opposing her Sun with Pluto on it, very controlling of her, and you know, and even though she wasn't old enough to probably rebel yet, at some point she would have probably. Their Jupiter's.
I think that might have sort of touched off the situation. So this is interesting because you're saying exactly what the cards are saying. It's really interesting. She was a very strong and protective person, that she protected him, she mothered him 100%, but she stood up to her mother.
Yeah, she did.
You don't hear a lot about it, but the cards say so.
And that's what their charts say. She did.
Starting to get rebellious, starting to not want to compromise. But here's what her mother did. Her mother used her. Her mother used her to accuse her birth father of child abuse, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. And was a very ugly divorce and a lot about money, but she pointed fingers at him and had Tylee was the victim, if you get my
Wow.
meaning,
Yeah.
right? And I think that she was really smart. I know she was really smart, and I'm assuming here from the cards that she began to recognize early that she was being used as a tool and manipulated. So, you got
She
strength
is smart, definitely.
and the Chariot reversed. There was a lot of aggression against her, a lot of control
Yes.
against her, a
Yes.
lot of manipulation.
Definitely.
She was there the day that Charles Vallow was murdered by her uncle in Lori's dance room. Remember that?
Yeah,
She had
not
a
really.
special
But yes.
dedicated.
Right.
She had a special
All the
dedicated
mirrors,
room,
so she could look at
right.
herself.
Yeah, and she was kind of drawn into the alibi that it was self-defense. They
Mm.
tried to make it sound like she was involved. Not that she did anything, but that her presence there provided eventually a weapon that was grabbed, and that led to the confrontation. She came out with a baseball bat when she heard them fighting. And
Who did?
because-
Did Lori did? Is that
No.
no? The girl?
Tylee came out of her room. She heard
Wow.
her uncle and her stepfather fighting. She came out of the room with a baseball bat.
Wow.
The uncle, the stepfather grabbed the baseball bat, threatened the uncle shot him. That was the story.
Wow.
But it wasn't true. It was a setup,
Wow. Wow. That's horrible.
Yeah. And the Eight of Wands reversed, always setbacks, always frustration, always lack of clarity. Her family life was chaos.
Yeah.
But she was smart enough to know she was being manipulated. Page of Swords, rebellious, intellectual, and rebellious.
Right.
So I think
That's
what
great.
happened, the timing was because she was starting to be a problem.
I think you're right. I think you're right, because when she was younger, all that Libra would have acquiesced, but as she got older, she would, that sense of justice she had, and her and her brother not being treated right.
Yeah, she saw him being neglected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She would have gotten
And
mad.
here's an example. This was shattering for these kids. To me, this is such an act of cruelty. His grandparents had gotten him a service dog, and he was very bonded with this service dog.
I'm sure.
Came with the service dog. Lori and Chad got rid of the dog.
Wow. Why?
Because they planned to kill the kid and they didn't need the
Wow.
dog around. So they just got rid of the dog. But they didn't wait. They got rid of the dog first.
That's really fucked
That's
up.
a real act of cruelty to a child like that.
No, it is. It really is. Well, like killing them is the ultimate act of cruelty, but
Right, but it's a step-by-step process, right?
wow.
And they didn't kill the dog. I think they sold the dog.
Wow.
Of course, money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if they could have sold their kids, they probably would have.
I don't even know what to say to that, because I don't want to make accusations or whatever.
I mean, that's how they are. Was my point. They're just all about themselves and making money.
Yeah. Well,
If
that's what she did with Tylee, in a sense. Metaphorically, she used her to get money from the divorce.
She did. She was, that's right.
It's grim.
It is grim.
Well, I had forgotten what a horrible story this was.
I know. I mean, I hadn't thought about it in like 2 months now, but it is terrifying. I mean, it really, it's so disgusting. I mean, I tell you, the first time, and whenever you see anything like this, it's very upsetting. But for whatever reason, Lori Vallow, when I saw the story sort of splash like on the nightly news, I found her thing and him to be one of the most deeply disturbed things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just so disturbed that they could do that to their own children, that they could kill all these people together, and that they could live in this delusion that they're.
It's like a spiritual synergism, it's like they're bad separately, but when you put them together, they're intensified logarithmically.
Absolutely.
So bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. and that they could do that. I mean, it was just, and that she could pretend, and that she could be so defended and crazy that she wouldn't seem like she didn't feel an ounce of guilt about what she had
Oh,
done.
she's still
children.
talking about, well, accidents happen, people hurt themselves. She goes through this, and she's justifying everything except reality. It's such a weird thing to listen to her. You feel like, is she crazy or am I? When you listen to her.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really disturbing, that somebody could be, I mean, like, for example, the story of that woman, I can't remember, I can see her face, Andrea Yates, who was having like postpartum psychosis, and her husband just kept fucking her and having more babies with her, even though everybody told him to stop doing that and to either put her on birth control or something, and she got crazier and crazier
and worse and worse. Yeah,
and she eventually killed her kids because she was totally out of her mind, like chemically. Okay, that's very tragic, but that even wasn't her fault. That was her husband's fault.
No, you can't point fingers at her. That poor woman was so ill, and it was
Yeah.
biochemical.
It was biochemical mental
Yeah.
illness. She should have been put in some kind of, she should not have had more children. She should have been sequestered from her kids and put in some kind of intensive therapeutic setting. Maybe they could have gotten her meds right and she could have stabilized and been okay. But that was just abusive.
I think she is now. If I recall, it's been a long time since I've thought about her, but I think she is in a stable place. And it's no one's pointing fingers at this guy. Nobody's talking about.
He should be in jail. He should be in jail.
The religion.
He should be in jail. He really should be in jail because he knew.
We're going to see more of this because of the laws now. We're going to see more women suffering like this.
And he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean, he knew so much that he had his own mother coming to the house, making sure that she didn't kill the kids. He knew fucking what he was doing. He didn't give a shit. He was selfish and a pig, in my opinion. And so he's the real villain in that story, in my opinion. She was as horrifying, but she was not in her right mind. And that was a horrifying story. But it's kind of like this story is, I felt like from the beginning that Lori Vallow was actually kind of the spider. Do you know what I'm saying? That she was the manipulator. And I agree, Chad Daybell is violent and psycho. But if he never met her, there's not a chance in hell he would have ever gone that far, I don't think. I think he also has this sort of he's got an aggressive side, but he's also got a very passive side to his personality. He would have just lived in his own delusion about how great and amazing
he was getting a lot of emotional fertilizer's the wrong word, but reinforcement from the podcast and the books that he was doing, because a lot of attention from women. He had a big fan base. Yeah. Right.
But if he would have, and he might have been fine if he had never met someone like her who kind of pushed all those buttons in him. And it looks like their situation was karmic for both of them because they were both so far gone that they had to explode. But he always struck me as just the vibe he had is somebody who just kind of a pathetic dude in a lot of ways. Pathetic, not to say that he wasn't violent or horrible, but just sort of also pathetic. And she strikes me as someone who goes through life, knowing how to manipulate people and get her way.
Yeah.
And so between the two of them, it feels like just on the surface that she has more power than him in many ways. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, she activated people. She
activated people. That's right.
She used her daughter. She used her brother.
Yeah.
She
knows how to manipulate like so intensely.
Yeah.
She's so manipulative, and you could feel that about her immediately. And I'm not saying that he wasn't a willing evil participant. I mean, he took it to a whole other level, right? But so did her brother. Her brother killed for her too.
Yeah.
So that's
you could see that interview that she did with Keith Morrison. You could see her periodically attempting to lure him under her spell.
Wow.
And he was having none of it.
Good for
and you
him.
could see her get pissed. And
Wow.
she'd get, with a smile on her face, but, and
Wow.
then a little bit of, and she'd say something, wink, 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 and he'd not having any of it, and she'd get pissed again. It was, you have to watch that.
I'm
It
gonna
was
watch
a
it
really
today.
interesting
Yeah,
dynamic.
I'll watch
Really
it.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, but I think though, if he never met a woman like her, he would never have gone off the cliff. I don't think. That's my feeling. He might have been in a shitty relationship. He might have been in an abusive relationship. He might have tried to control the woman he was with. He might have a lot of things, but I don't think he would have killed a bunch of people. I think that is Lori. I really do. I think Lori is actually the one who manipulated the whole thing into murdering people. I don't know. That's my intuition.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I feel very sorry for her husband, Charles Vallow.
Yes, same.
There's that. Did you see the body camera video from the cops?
Yes.
Didn't you feel sorry for him?
I did.
He was
I
in
felt terrible.
tears.
I know.
I don't know where my daughter and son are. I don't know where my belongings are. I can't
Yeah.
get into my
No, I
house.
know.
My wife is nuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
he's
cops
right.
didn't believe him. This was a very Mormon community, and the cops were all Mormon. They didn't believe him. That came out later. They thought that he was the problem.
I know, and
She'd show up and bat her eyelashes.
But that's how that's what I'm saying. She is a master manipulator.
Yeah.
Master manipulator. And I really think she's really the spider at the center of the whole web. I mean, most of the people that died were people that were directly connected to her, not to him, to Chad Daybell.
Well, his wife.
I know. That's
But
true.
that's because she was in Lori's way.
That's right.
You know
I'm
what
not
would be
saying-
really interesting? I would love to be a fly on the wall. I would love to know what her interpersonal dynamics are in prison. Wouldn't you
Do
love?
they still have a relationship?
Oh no, not with him. With the people she's
Oh.
incarcerated with, and
She's
how
probably got
much does she
people.
manipulate the guards?
Oh,
How much?
I'm
does
sure she manipulates
you know?
everybody around her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. I'm sure she's got women doing stuff for her, and I'm sure she's the queen because she knows how to be the queen. She knows how to get herself.
Gross.
She's that really dark kind of dark mother character, the dark spider woman kind of
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah. She is gross.
Well, Denise,
Yes,
we finally did it.
we did.
And we actually have a couple of different stories. You may not know this. We have a couple of stories up our sleeves that we're ready. We're going to try to be more predictable about this. It's been hard, but we're going to have to commit to a more predictable schedule because I actually got a note from somebody the other day. Whatever happened to you? To you and Denise doing the videos.
I wasn't doing much of any videos. So, yeah.
No. I explained. I made your apologies for you. You're welcome. And life gets in the way. You still have a kid at home, and you have other family responsibilities. I'm footloose and fancy free. So after 25 long years, I just need to remind you. 20 plus years, I was either pregnant, or I had a nursing baby and I was pregnant, or I just had a nursing baby and a couple of toddlers. And then it started, I had teenagers over 20 years. This explains a lot. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Yeah.
A lot of stress. So I'm reveling in the peace and quiet in my house these days. It's really nice.
That's good. You appreciate it.
And I didn't have to put anybody in the pet cemetery to achieve it. Like Lori and Chad did.
Oh, good Lord.
Terrible. Dark humor. It's not fun.
Awful.
Well, thank you, Denise. And thank you
Helen.
everybody for watching. And we promise we will try harder to be more predictable, because I know everybody is just on the edges of their seats waiting for our next.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Slancha foil. Slancha.